last meeting, we're going to go through each of the items and we'll take a motion at the end. However, we will have an opportunity for questions with each item. Any discussion on item 1? Madam Clerk, please read in item 2.
Item number 2, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-215, decertifying revenue in the Juvenile Justice Abuse Neglect Fund.
You. Discussion, Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask for a better explanation of this.
Do we,
Decertifying revenue in the Title IV-E program.
Budget Director?
Good afternoon. I'm
Item
Drew.
2.
I'm Drew Vandegrift, Wayne County Budget Director. I believe this is a budget adjustment to decertify revenue that is no longer being received by the county, though I should pause for a moment and see if there's a representative from HHVS that's on Zoom that may have more specific understanding of this particular Title IV-E program.
Do we have anyone on Zoom from the department? Don't believe so.
And that's fine.
What was
Madam-
your question, Commissioner Anderson?
A better explanation of this, why the funds are being decertified. But Drew, I think you're saying funds that are no longer available that were
Title IV.
appropriated to that fund.
That is my understanding. You're right. So we budget for what we anticipate, and then sometimes we get more and sometimes we get less, and then we certify or decertify as appropriate. In this case, it is a decertification.
Okay, and how will that affect? Will it affect anything as far as services? Because I know Veteran Services is one of the part of that department.
Certainly, you know, that's an issue. Before I speak to the programming and intended use of those dollars, I'd like to check with the department.
Okay, if you could
But
just get back.
I'm glad to do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
We'll make sure that we get the answer for you. Already. Will that be okay with you, Commissioner? Okay. Anyone else on item 2? Okay, please read in item 3.
Item 3, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35-170, certifying revenue in the County Health Fund.
You? Discussion on this item? Yes, Commissioner Baker McCormick.
Is there anyone to talk to this item?
Could you please talk into the microphone?
Is there anyone that can address this item? Local Community Stabilization Authority.
Anyone on
funding.
Zoom or in the public? On this item? Could we get a, do you have a specific question so we can get the answer for you?
Just wanted to know what Local Community Stabilization Authority funding is.
Do we have an answer from anyone from the administration?
Good afternoon through the chair. Eddie with the administration. I'll find that out directly from the department and get an answer back to you, Commissioner.
The person who would be here from the County Health Fund is having some type of medical issue, so that is the reason why they're not here today. They'll be on Zoom for the budget. Is that okay with you to get the information
Yes,
before
thank
we
you.
go to full board? Great. Anyone else? Item 4, please.
Item 4, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35209, certifying revenue in the county health fund.
This is in the Parks Division. Any discussion on this item? Go ahead and read the next one.
Item 5, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35240, certifying revenue in the county park fund.
You, any discussion on item 6? Okay,
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I don't know if there's someone here for this, but it looks like the contract for this is in the Committee on Seniors and Veterans Affairs for approval. Does that sound right? Or even from our staff?
Madam
yes,
Chair,
go ahead.
Drew Vandergrift again. I just consulted with my team and that is our shared understanding is the answer is yes, so that contract is moving through right now.
It's in committee right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Get to move the funds so the contract can go through. Thank you. Any other discussion on that? Next item, please.
Item 6, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35248, certifying revenue in the HHS Nutrition Fund.
Any discussion on item 6? We'll make sure that someone is going to be here for full board, just the same, even though we're going to get the information ahead of time. So that way, if we have any additional questions, they'll be able to answer it before we vote. Next item, please.
Item 7, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35250, certifying revenue in the county health fund.
This is a grant. Any discussion? Please read in item 8.
Item 8, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35180, reallocating expenditures in the general fund.
Any discussion? For a copier. Next item, please.
Item 9, requesting commission approval of budget adjustment 2022-35245, reallocating expenditures in the Soldiers and Sailors Relief Fund.
Any discussion on this item? Commissioner Baydoun, I believe, has a
Thank you, Madam
motion.
Chair. I will make a motion to move items 1 through 9 to the full board for consideration.
Been moved and supported by Commissioner Maraki. Any further discussion on any of the items? Felicia, you're good? Any further discussion on 1 through 9? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Scott, Commissioner Baker McCormick,
Yes.
Commissioner Marecki,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinlock,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Baydoun,
Yes.
Chair Varga,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you. To the administration, please make sure that we will have someone here at full board just in case from the health department. Thank you very much.
Through the chair,
Yes,
Kamal Kapoor, I'm Finance Director of Health, Human and Veteran Service.
there you are.
Well, I'm still on medical leave, but I just got contacted that none of my staff was there, so I apologize. I will make sure someone is there for full board to get you the answers you all need.
We're wishing you happy or speedy recovery, and we're happy to have you chime in so that way we know that someone did. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Feel better.
Will do.
Next item, please.
We are now moving to unfinished business item number 1, requesting commission approval of the recommended comprehensive executive budget appropriations ordinance for fiscal year 2022-2023 and the projected budget for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Mr. Mark Abbo, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, the next presenter on the budgeted department is Homeland Security, so I welcome them to join us.
You can either stand or you may have a seat in the front there. That might be a little more comfortable. And just speak into the microphone, please. And welcome.
Go back one more time.
Push the button one more time.
Testing.
There you go.
Good morning, Honorable Commission. Samuel Jafer, Director, Homeland Security Emergency Management. Our Deputy Director is also here, Nathaniel McQueen. Any questions? Sure, come on up here, Nathaniel. Yes, our budget is fully completed. Our department runs primarily on federal grants, primarily through the UASC Urban Area Security Initiative. And if there's any questions that you may have, we'll be more than happy to answer.
This is the shortest department we've had on record. Mr. Mark Abbo.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Director, for joining us. I'll be honest with you. When I took a first blush at the budget for fiscal year 21-22, the total budget was $3.817 million. Right now, we're looking at a budget of $3,245,000. That's a reduction of $572,000. And in a period where, I mean, from reports that I see, we're almost having an epidemic of crime. I would have thought just the opposite, that the budget would have increased and that we would have put more resources towards Homeland Security rather than reducing those resources. So I'm really, not understanding why it's being reduced. And we asked a question about staffing level adequate for the activities of the department. And the response was currently staffing levels are at a level to provide a minimally serviceable level of operations for the DHSEM and reflects the reality of both the limited general fund availability and the reduced levels of available grant funding. I don't know, I kind of view that as almost a stock answer because the general fund balance has been increasing rather dramatically. I mean, I recall a time when there was a negative $150 million, but as of the end of last year, their fund balance was $260 million. So I was just wondering, whether you believe that there is a need for greater activity by Homeland Security, or you really believe that it should drop the way it is?
Great question. Of course, we can use all the funding that becomes available. When you look at our budget, I was the interim director from January of this year. So the director who moved on retired. And also we had a chief of staff that moved to another department. So therefore, you're going to see decreases. And as far as funding is concerned, from year to year, that's comes from the federal level, and depending on what goes on around the country in different jurisdictions, based on crime, terrorism, and so forth. That is decided at that level to disperse the funding accordingly. And lot of funding at the federal level has been allocated to the southern borders near Mexico and so forth. So when we're talking about funding, that starts at the federal level and through the state down to the counties.
Has any activities been reduced or diminished in Homeland Security? I mean, I'm looking at the sources of money also. You're right, the bigger part of it, a reduction of $572,000. 341,000 is a reduction in federal grants, and 231,000 is a reduction in the allocation from the general fund. I mean,
but it depends
again,
on,
I'm trying to assess the
Right.
need for more involvement in Homeland Security and the security of the county. And I don't know if I have a good sense of that yet.
well, let me tell you, the funding years are not always, the fiscal year does not always end in December. The fiscal year ends in September on many of our grants, so therefore, and the funds don't come in with the allocated amounts the same year the grants are approved at the federal level. So our 2021 funding was just approved months ago. So that's due to the process of the funding channels from the federal level down to our county. So as far as staffing is concerned, we've hired a deputy director. We've hired a solutionary planner. So the $300,000 difference coupled with legacy costs and so forth will offset that in the coming years. But it doesn't mean that the funding we have is not used. It may already be allocated for different things like radio communications for police and fire, or any other equipment that would support our response and recovery efforts. So that is not indicated in the numbers as you look at it. So just because it's on there, it doesn't mean that it's not money spoken for yet, just so everyone understands that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to piggyback as it relates to, or follow up with some of the questions that Mr. Avo had mentioned. As far as the, I'm trying to figure out what is going on over. So as far as the exposure, being right here a border county to another country, is there any, has there been any activity or anything that, I'm sorry, lessening of any activity or concern as it relates to the exposure, the exposure that Wayne County, specifically Detroit, may have as it relates to some sort of incident? I do know that that for quite some time we've been talking about and hearing about the concern as it relates to our bridges and our tunnels over to Canada, as well as at the southern border as well. So what I'm trying to say is, has anything, decreased as it relates to, not requiring the level of attention that we have had in the past? Because also, as far as part of that grant process in Washington, is making sure that your senators and that you're in touch with the senators and making sure that they're advocating for a certain level of appropriation, and also allocation of resources as well.
Absolutely. Commissioner Killenlock, great question. We are very confident in our protection levels at the international borders, the Detroit-Windsor border. We have a grant that we work through. It's called the Stone Garden Grant, that includes all our downriver communities that border the river all the way to St. Clair, from Gibraltar to the St. Clair, Grosse Pointe areas. And we have our Marine Division from the Sheriff Department that are consistently on the water, that are funded to that, our Detroit Police Department, Marine Division, and the downriver communities from Trenton, Riverview, and on many instances, we also have the Metro Parks who are involved in this protection. And we have meetings, monthly meetings, just to speak about this protection of the borders. We share information with our Border Patrol, who are actually the pilots of the program. So I feel confident in the protection at the international border. As you see, thankfully, nothing major has happened due to the great policing efforts by our Wayne County communities, especially the downriver communities, the Detroit Police Department, Sheriff Department. And in the meantime, we have been speaking with the state police. Our deputy director is retired from the state police. We're looking at having them share some of that help. They're always there for us as well, but as far as the Stone Garden is concerned, yes.
Okay, so also, I do know that Miles, is there enough resources for actual infrastructure, actual equipment? Do you see a need for expanding any sort of equipment or any type of upgrade to any of the hardware that's utilized in monitoring the Detroit River? I do know that there were some issues as it relates to cameras, as it relates to some of the other equipment needing to be upgraded. And so just, trying to see whether or not this budget is suitable to deal with the necessary upgrades and equipment that I know that we need, from the experience at the Port Authority.
Yes, Commissioner, a great question. Most currently now we are working on the Windsor Detroit Tunnel communication system. Right around 2010, we obtained a grant that was a competitive grant known as the BIDP, the Border Interoperability Demonstration Project. And that's the first communication piece that allowed the Windsor authorities to connect and communicate with the Detroit Wayne County authorities through the tunnel. Right now, we are in the process of working on obtaining a grant because some construction took place and some of that equipment needs to be replaced. And we also our communications chief, who was hired approximately 6 months ago, is doing a great job in compiling database with all the radios that we have at our disposal. And we are trying to update every radio possible, and that would be replacing some that are not capable of what is the word I want to use where they can't communicate. What is it?
Oh, yes, if I may address the commission, Nathaniel McQueen, Deputy Director for Wayne County Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Just to piggyback on what the director has already stated there. So some of our communications is a little antiquated and it has now becoming outdated. As many of you are aware, technology changes daily. As soon as something becomes new, it becomes obsolete. So some of the radios that we currently have to be able to disperse to some of our downriver communities and other communities that may not have the 800 megahertz system, which the state of Michigan operates off of, no longer are able to transmit or receive on those radios. And so we're constantly looking for funding to be able to upgrade those radio systems.
Right. And the word I was looking for was the encryption. Encryption came out, I'd say about 8 years ago. And some of the more sophisticated radios where, for example, if I had communities on my radio where I can monitor, and so we can most appropriately respond and recover to support our local police and fire. Some of those communities are on radios that are encrypted. Therefore, that capability was not available like it was before. But what we've done is made sure we had for our department like 6 of those radios that we purchased specifically for those encryption uses. And as Deputy Director Naomi Queen stated, we are working on replacing all the radios we can. And we do prioritize when we see communities that are deficient in areas. We try to prioritize which communities would need them first, and that would really depend on the age and so forth of the communication equipment. And we also always keep, we call them like cashier radios for emergencies. Should we have responding mutual aid agencies that need to communicate, they can communicate with the same frequencies and so forth due to the radios we have for any emergency response in our county.
Yes, I have some additional questions I'll deal offline as it relates to,
Sure. And to let you know, we have never, since I've been there, left any money unused. And this is the truth, since 2010 from our budget, every dollar has always been used.
They haven't had to return money, right?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Baydun.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Jafer, thank you for the presentation. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you and your department for your leadership and for all you have done during the flooding of last year. Your department really stepped up, especially in the city of Dearborn. For the benefit of our audience who might be watching us on Zoom, Sam, can you briefly just describe the scope of work that your department does on a daily basis, just briefly, so people understand what the Department of Homeland Security involves and whether it's, community assistance during flooding and other aspects of your department, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Baydun. Great question. I appreciate the input there. Very important for our citizens to know. Nate, myself, and staff are communicating 24 hours throughout the day. When I get up in the morning, when Nate gets up, our staff, we're looking at our emails, and our emails come from mayors, police chiefs, emergency managers, fire chiefs, and citizens from around the county. So we take these emails, take the substance of what's being asked, what is the need. At Homeland Security Emergency Management, we have two functions: Homeland Security Emergency Management. Homeland Security protects and prevents from terrorism. Emergency Management is responsible for response and recovery. So with those two in mind, it's very important to understand, and just so people know, since 2001, when Homeland Security came as a section under the United States government, where FEMA actually started sharing information with the FBI and law enforcement. So you have law enforcement, and so you got fire and police. That's how Homeland Security was actually designed after the impact of 9/11. And ironically, speaking of that, I was working in the Detroit Police Department, and one of the first visits Tom Ridge, the Pennsylvania governor, made in the United States to a city to discuss this was Detroit. And I was working executive protection at the time, so I actually met Tom Ridge at our Detroit airport at the time with Honorable Conrad Mallett was actually present. And it was very interesting to see how Homeland Security evolved. One of the big things we've experienced in the last 12 years I've been there is flooding. So when I got the task of the honor of being appointed by our county executive as a director, first thing I did is lay down things on the table. What are our priorities? What have we been experiencing that we want to mitigate? Number one was flooding. So what I did, I had our executive assistant poll every community in Wayne County, find out who their DPS supervisor, that'd be Department of Public Service, who deals with the sewers and so forth in their communities. I talked to Andy Kendrivas, his deputy director, Almika Steele, and discussed this with our deputy director when he came on. And what we're doing, we're having a meeting to where these DPS directors all get to know each other on a name basis. So when we have this flooding, everyone knows what the responsibility is, or what's a city sewer, where's the county sewers. We're going to share maps, just being proactive and knowing one another and helping one another at the scene rather than not knowing each other. One of the biggest thing is meeting someone on a personal basis. So that meeting is going to be a big one for us. Looking forward to it. And day in and day out, we update our communities on weather reports, cooling centers, warming centers. You know, we have homeless people all over the county. And what I've added that wasn't on before, every list of cooling centers and heating centers, I made sure they're placed with every police chief. So they're at the front desk of our local police departments. So if somebody's cold in the winter, they need a shelter, the police department has it, maybe they can help convey them or find a way to get that person sheltered. And same thing when it comes to our summers, when it comes to the hot weather. So we are always looking for grants to fund different things that are harden our protection and help our citizens keep safe.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you. Would that list be available online?
Yes, yes, it is. Matter of fact, our I send it to our Assistant Deputy Chief under the County Executive, who also puts it, sends it to the public areas such as churches and so forth, religious centers, so they have it. And it is online. Our website also has safety tips and so forth. And if you ever would like somebody from our office to come and speak to your communities on some concerns they may have as far as safety, by all means, we're here for you. Even if it should be the police, we have contacts with our local police department, and our sheriff department is very instrumental. Anytime we need anything, they're always there, and we work hand in hand.
I imagine your responsibilities will be greater as the second span of the bridge is going to open up. And I know that Detroit, that's located in Detroit, but I'm sure that you will be called in at some point with the Detroit Homeland Security, as always, working together. That responsibility will double over the bridge. In the coming, when that opens up.
Absolutely. And that being said, Commission, just so you know, all our professional sports stadiums yearly will do a walkthrough with the critical infrastructure people from the Federal Homeland Security, the Detroit Police Department, Detroit's Homeland Security. We actually go through all the stadiums and before the season and actually take a walkthrough and look at areas of concern or gaps to mitigate to make sure our citizens in the county are safe when attending any of these venues.
Thank you. Commissioner Marecki, do you have?
You know what? Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually was going to ask the same question that Commissioner Kinlock asked, but I just want to comment that I appreciate all your responses to the questions we had. Because they're very detailed and you sure have a huge list of things that you do. So appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Madam Chair and
Yes.
Commissioner, and with my director's permission, could I add a couple of things to this? Would that be
Sure.
fine?
And then we have Commissioner Baker McCormick who wants to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just first off, Commissioner Baydoun had asked about some of the items or some of the things that we do over at Homeland Security and Emergency Management. And my director is very modest. He is really awesome. He does so much for the citizens here in Wayne County. For an example, en route here today, in fact, we were running in hoping we wouldn't be late because over in the city of Inkster, they have a large, you'll probably see this on the media outlets tonight. They have a large apartment fire that's going right now. And my director is constantly walking around, monitoring, listening for transmissions of who's being dispatched where. He immediately contacted me, informed me, and then we proceeded to head to Inkster to see how we could be of assistance, which we were able to. They were having difficulty getting in touch with one of the volunteer organizations to come because they have approximately 30 residents who are now displaced with nowhere to reside. And so thanks to my director being right on top of things constantly day and night, we were able to go over there to assist them with getting in touch with that organization that'll be able to provide some type of relief for those residents there. That's just one of the things there that goes unsung and doesn't get talked about. It doesn't show up in reports like this right here, just the large things. But for those 30 residents and for many residents throughout the entire calendar year, the things that the director and our department does really helps and benefits the citizens of Wayne County.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful story with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I know that he is a hands-on person, which means that he wants to make sure that he gives the best service personally that he possibly can. We already know that of him, but it is nice to hear it from you.
Thank you, Commissioner. And without saying, for many years, in the middle of the night, when I get a call and we need the support, Nate was a person I reached out to. So when the county executive and the staff asked me what I think of Nate McQueen, I said, can't say nothing but the best. I mean, the experience, the knowledge, and me coming from Detroit and Nate coming from the state and working myself in the county in the position of 11 years as deputy director, I think we have a very vast understanding of what needs to be done and how to overcome to respond to emergencies and so forth. And thank you, Deputy Director McQueen, for the kind words, and the commission. And we'll keep working hard to make sure everyone is safe.
Thank you. Personal story, someone had, I'll take a personal prerogative real quick. Someone had messaged me on Facebook and said, I wish that you could build me a ramp. And I replied, I wish I could too, but I don't know how. And the person thanked me. So I can see that you're that kind of person. Commissioner Baker McCormick has some questions.
Thank you,
And
Madam Chair.
then we have Commissioner Haddis joined us. He's not on the committee, but he attends a lot of our meetings. I'll have you next, and then we'll go back to Mr. Mark Abbo.
You, Mr. Director, for being here.
Pleasure.
Mark indicated that your budget was had decreased, which is, I think, usually a good thing whenever we can save money, right? But however, I was just looking at the salary. Did someone take a salary cut? Because it's the same amount of workers, but.
Well, what we had, the director was absent since January. He took this job at Metro Airport as a vice president of public safety. So that salary considered, and two other employees. We had a assistant, our office assistant, Gwendolyn Parker was no longer there. And Danielle Alziat moved to economic development. But in their place, we have an executive assistant. We have a deputy director. I was moved up to director, and we just are completing the process of hiring an experienced person who's going to be a great help in the communications and grants area within our department. And by all means, we can use a whole lot more money. And what you need to understand when it comes to USC, there's a metropolitan statistical analysis that's done every year by the U.S. Justice Department. They evaluate what areas have highest crimes, what areas need prevention, what areas had experiences of terrorism, and they have a formula to calculate how much funding we get, just so that's clear.
And is there any way we can get a list of the employees and the salaries?
Yes.
Okay,
As a matter of fact, management budget does have them.
Okay.
And they said they're accessible to you because we were actually sending all of it at once, and we were told that they will have a direct connect in the report to where you can receive that. But I will make sure you have it.
Because the other departments also provide that information, that would be helpful. Also, you don't have any vacancies though, or do you have, you said one?
Yeah, at this time, we do not, but
Okay.
I'd love to have another 10 employees if I could, you know.
Question. So we're hopefully moving out of, I guess, the pandemic COVID era, but now we see monkeypox. Is there any preparedness that you all are doing in reference to monkeypox?
Great question. We have a very hardworking health department. Every Monday, our chief of staff, Azad Turfi, will coordinate a meeting with all the department, all the county directors, the health department, and the first director or the doctor to speak is the health department. And they give an update on the ongoing COVID pandemic that we're dealing with. And I'm very involved in that because We supervise the warehouse that provides PPE, that's personal protection equipment for all police and fire and our departments in the county. And that being said, we are always working to make sure that everybody is safe to be able to respond and recover. Because if we can't protect our first responders, the monkeypox you're talking about, that'd be more in the area of the health department. They are speaking about it. And I know the numbers are more, have increased as time moved on, but that is available through our health department. They do a great job informing us and telling us what to be aware of. And we also work with our Michigan DHHS, yes, who is well connected with our health department.
Yeah, as chair of the Health and Human Services Committee, you know, we just want to, I didn't know the connection that, you know, you work with HHS or not.
Yes,
And
we're,
so that's
we're actually,
great.
we're in the same building.
Oh.
And yeah, we work very close together and they do a great job. They're busy day in and day out, and we respond to emergencies together. And with this COVID crisis, we've been working together. Some of their equipment's in our warehouse and vice versa, so.
Talk about public education and information that you disseminate. I would love for you to come to one of my district meetings to talk about what you do, but what public education information do you have?
We talk about one of the biggest things experienced in Michigan when it comes to emergencies is weather emergencies, whether it be storms, flooding, and we always have a tendency, you know, for tornadoes. In Michigan, the more common area for tornadoes is the Flint area because the land is so level there. If you look at statistical data, it'll show you more tornadoes occurred in Flint than Genesee County than any other areas in Michigan. That being said, we also, Nate and myself are not only retired law enforcement, but still law enforcement. I actually train with the sheriff department. So I'm a certified law enforcement officer. And I just left an advisory board meeting at Schoolcraft where I sit on the advisory board who help set policy when training our young recruits who are becoming police officers. And from there, that's when I connected with Nate and said, hey, I just heard this information. Nate went to the scene in Inkster. So we're always doing something. When we don't have emergencies, we're training police, we're training fire. Matter of fact, make this quick. I noticed with our radiological emergency preparedness, one day I said, you know, if the medics had to respond to a radiological emergency, you know, how many medics are really trained in radiation response? So what I did, I took it upon myself to go next door. We have the Health Emergency Medical Service, HEMS, who dispatches ambulance medical services, public and private. And I talked to the director, Bob Miljan. This was 5 years ago. I said, Bob, I was thinking if there's a major situation, you know, medics, I come to learn they're not all trained for radiological. I said, what can we do if I reach out to the state, the feds? So what I did, I got a chemist from the state who's very well-rounded in radiological response. We brought up a training for our county medics. Anybody who was private or public wanted to attend, became certified on responding to that. So, you know, we try to look outside the box. We try to be proactive. Nate and I are always thinking, what if? We just met with our amateur radios. If all communication goes out, yesterday we had an hour discussion. How do we communicate? If there's no power, our RACES team was there. That's the amateur radio people, and they're going to be part of our radiological emergency preparedness, where we are evaluated by the federal government, FEMA, to make sure we're readily prepared for a radiological release at the Fermi plant. And their license is accompanied upon our readiness. So that's done every 2 years.
And just the last question, or I guess statement. I know some time ago we talked about a emergency of some kind like that commissioners and elected officials could easily get to a certain location. I don't know if you have that training or have anything already set for that, but I would be interested in knowing more about that offline.
Yeah, offline, we'll
Okay.
talk.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Commissioner.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our committee member, Commissioner Martha G. Scott, and then Commissioner Haddis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director, Deputy Director, thank you for being here today. I am trying to pull together a number of the departments and that. So I'm trying to educate my community on the county, everything that's going on. So how much time would we need to get in touch with you to set up something?
You can call us anytime. We'll get you in the schedule. We do have a busy month, but it doesn't mean we can't get to you because of this Fermi drill is so important. And with all the responsibilities we have, we're spread pretty thin, but we do a good job getting the task done. But I will, anytime you call and have a request, I will give you the most quickest time possible. So we'll get you on the schedule. You just give us some dates and we'll make sure that somebody comes out and gives you a training, whatever it may be related to our profession.
Okay, I'm sure it's gonna take a little time, be after the election, but I just wanna
Yes.
get all of this set up with a number of department heads and that, so that, because it just seems like no matter how much information we send them out there, what the county does and that, I think if they could just see in action the department heads and find out what each department does.
Very, very good point.
So thank you so much, and thank you for all that you're doing now, and certainly last 2 years when we've, had all of these problems. We're still having them. We're not out of them yet, so I'm still trying to encourage people because I'm still losing some folks that just don't want to get vaccinated, and stuff. So it's an ongoing thing in our community. So, but thank you so much for all that you've done.
You're welcome.
Appreciate you.
And our job is never ended, Commissioner. We're there for you. And as I was talking earlier, what Sam Commissioner Baydoun brought up some of the things we do. We review all school safety plans. So when grants are being offered to these schools, we look at the plan, and there's many criteria, many areas that we look at to make sure our students are safe and so forth. We'll speak to that offline sometime. But and what I'd like to do, Deputy Director, I just want to get a big list sent to our commissioners on all the responsibilities we have, just so you know when your constituents call, because our county executive always says, an emergency is not handled till every citizen is attended to. Everybody's safe. And this is our motto, and we stand by that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Haddis?
I really wasn't planning on talk about this issue now, wait until the budget debate. But as long as Director Jafar mentioned some of the responsibility and mentioned the flood issue. And I know that it's in Wayne County, we have many community can't afford to fix their flooding issue because of the cost. And then the tag with this flooding issue too, many community need assistance and help and never been addressed to resolve important problem like that. So I hope my question is the director, do you ever address that to the administration? Is we need to assist some community to enhance their flow of water to prevent flooding in basement and the street in those community. I appreciate you. One time I visit the site in Flat Rock where the oil spill in the river and see you was there, your hand on. But the issue of the flooding, and there's some community did retention center to enhance the flow, and some community can't afford to do it. So we can't wait till always we have the disaster, basement flooded, and try to offer the people assistance, pick up the damaged furniture, the garbage, without addressing how can we fix that problem in Wayne County. There's some communities spend a lot of money to create retention center and hence the flow, and some community next to them can't afford to do anything. So it's mean sometimes fix one side and not fix the other and create more problem. And I'm going to attack them all together. And the other problem many community can't afford to deal with, it's the lead pipe. And I feel the lead pipe, in my opinion, it's emergency situation. Our kids and family drinking water through the lead pipe. Doesn't matter if it's low or high, it's bad for their health. So as a homeland security, in those two issues, it's very important. I hope you and the budget director and the commission try to address those issues in this budget to try to start to work for solution to protect the people from those two unhealthy situations, flooding and lead pipe. I've been receiving a lot of call about the lead pipe. And people know the situation is from the property line to the house, municipality cannot fix it because they feel it's responsibility of the owner. And when the owner barely making it with low income, how can they fix that? So we need to put that, and during the budget time, we need to put those two issues on the table. In my opinion, it's emergency. When it comes to the health of the citizen we have and we represent them, I hope this message go to be discussed in this budget to address those two items, Madam the Chair.
Thank you. I'll address that. Right now, it's not going to be in this current budget from these tax dollars that we're dealing with. That will be coming up later on in the ARP funding, I believe. We're going to be discussing in committee of the whole of all the projects that are coming up. So if your community has not yet applied to Wayne County for a grant from those dollars, then we need to make sure that they do. So I'll talk to you about it after our meeting, but that's going to be coming out from the federal dollars that we already received. And it depends on what the community wants to use those monies for. They're going to have to get with Wayne County on those. And some communities I know from personal experience are pooling their dollars together and doing combined sewer flow and different things, and as well as perhaps doing the lead pipe replacements. So that is a different discussion aside from this particular budget. But it's important just the same.
Madam the Chair, you know, the greatest thing in our life here in this country, and we have the right to agree and disagree. I really disagree the way we're dealing with this issue. Let me tell you why. We all feel the lead pipe, it's a very important issue. We all feel the flooding, it's a very important issue. And now we waiting for certain funding, and we have so many huge number in the millions coming from federal, restricted to too many things. And yet to see something restricted to deal with the lead pipe and deal with the flooding. And those, I see them as a priority. It affects the health of a human being directly. And the message should go out of this discussion is let's get those two issues on the table and restrict money for it, not wait for the community to decide if they're going to spend the money on it or something else. It's not working. We have that system working for many years, and we still have the problem. It's not been resolved. So I really feel before we start to see the people getting sicker and more property damage from the flooding, we should have some funding and restrict for that to deal with the issue directly. It's my feeling, it's my personal opinion.
The director would like to address the issue.
Thank you for sharing that, Commissioner Haddis. I just want to add, every Monday, myself or the deputy director, since the deputy director and I have been working together here, we've both been on the meetings of the Southeast Michigan Agent Infrastructure meetings. And what's happening, we have engineers on there, we have the state of Michigan, we have health departments, and we're discussing ways to mitigate and improve the structures underground and so forth, because this problem started 100 years ago, and maybe hundreds before that. And it's a national problem. It's not just in Wayne County. And that being said, I mean, the way this commission and executive turned this county around financially is impressive. It should be in the Guinness books. I mean, we were in bad shape. Now we're a bond rating county. That being said, we would love more funding in every area, but there's only so much funding that goes around. And one of the big things that is being done now is this Michigan Aging Infrastructure. That's a committee that's been meeting now. What would you say, Nate? You want to speak a little on that?
Yes, thank you, Director. Madam Chair. So the Southeast Michigan Aging Infrastructure Group was founded or started by our current governor as a means to look at the flooding that we have down here in Southeast Michigan, not just here in Wayne County, but also Macomb County and Oakland County as well. As many people may be listening and that are here in chambers right now know, anytime it rains, we're all crossing our fingers hoping that our basements don't flood. And so it's a problem that has been going on because our infrastructure is over 100 years old. And at the time that it was erected or put in place, there was not the forethought that the increase of population. And so it's taking a 3-tier approach, looking at short-term mitigation goals and funding sources, a middle term, and then a long term. We have not only have those individuals from the state here, from the local level, the state level, but we also have federal partners. Our Army Corps of Engineers, FEMA is also a part of this particular group. And we're constantly looking at, there are some grants that we have applied for, but they are long-term grants. They are competitive in nature, meaning that we're competing with other entities around the country for these grants. And then some of them will take a degree of time to actually put in place. So we also are looking at short-term mitigation projects that can be put in place. The county has been very proactive. It's not just the Department of Homeland Security that's on that. Also the county's Department of Public Services are also on that call. They've already engaged in a number of activities to start trying to bring some relief to our citizens here in Wayne County, because we recognize that flooding is a huge problem.
I agree with you. It's not only Wayne County problem. It's all over, but somebody has to take the lead and try to tackle with the issue, especially the lead issue. I feel it's very important, and nothing wrong if Wayne County take the lead and step to the plate and try to tackle with this issue with federal and state. And if we have to make a noise about it with the media, we should. It's the health of our people. So that's my point. Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving
Thank
me
you.
the time.
I was very lenient with you, so thank you for your input. We have other commissioners still But if Director, if you'd like to.
Just want to
chime
add, we have a gentleman from FEMA, Ken Russell from the Detroit area, who's been instrumental in coordinating a long-term recovery team that I'm involved, I'm a part of, and our staff. And what that is, from the last flood we had, the work is never over for us. If somebody still has an issue, we've been responsive to them. We've helped people get their furnace repaired through FEMA that couldn't get it repaired because of their financial status, and it was caused by the flooding. So that is continuous as well. So we are working on things that affect the general public when it comes to flooding. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baydun.
Yeah, I just wanted to,
Martha
I just wanted to make a comment. Commissioner Haddis, you and I share the same frustration on this issue. I serve on this Tri-County Summit with Commissioner Marecki, and we're looking into the possibilities of creating green space and coming up with solutions to mitigate the flooding. Yeah, there's a lot of things we could do. I'd like to express my frustration by saying that we perhaps should invest the billions of dollars that we're sending overseas to start wars. We should spend them in our communities throughout the United States, not just Wayne County. This is a common problem throughout the country. And this issue of flooding is not going to be solved by Wayne County or the city of Dearborn alone. This is going to take a collective effort on the federal, state, and local levels. Wayne County cannot fix this problem on their own, in my opinion. We need federal money, and again, we need to have our priorities in order, so to speak. But I do understand your frustration, Commissioner.
Martha G. Scott, and then we'll have Mr. Abel.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. But I want to say kudos to my colleague who came into this committee. I've been dealing with this lead problem ever since I was in the Senate almost 30 years ago now. And nothing has been done. But what we really need to do is just do something about the lead pipes. We need to do it, not wait on if we get a grant here, short-term, long-term, but a priority. When I was in the Senate, I had nurses from Schoolcraft College come to my community, test my kids, So look how long it's been, and nothing's really been done. I talked to our health department here at the county. Well, we ran out of money. We ran out of this, we ran out of that, but I want a priority. And I thank you for bringing that up this morning, Commissioner Haddis. Thank you. I'm all in with you. So we can sit here and we need to work on it. Not just continue to talk about it. I've heard our governor talk about it. I served with her up there when I was dealing with the issues when I was in Lansing. So it is time for us to do it.
Lead pipes are very, very serious.
Thank you.
Mark Abel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify the point of the earlier discussion that I have. The mission of Homeland Security is in part assuring resilience if a disaster occurs. Obviously, if people feel unsafe, they're going to leave Wayne County. If business feels unsafe, they're going to leave Wayne County. We don't want that to happen. We want people to join us here in Wayne County. We believe it's a great place to live, work, and play. But when I look at the budget, and again, I'm going to mention the budget for Homeland Security, we're going from $3.8 million down to $3.2 million. And when I look at the projection for 23-24, we're going from 3.2 million down to 2.7 million. I think that that's going in the wrong place. And I know that 23-24 is only a placeholder for that year. It's not, we're not approving it or talking about it, but it gives me an indication of where we may be going. I think that we're going, based on the discussion that we've heard, we're going in the wrong direction. I think that when there are some things that we do that we should be doing more of, there are some things that we do that we should be doing less of. This is one of the things that we do that I believe we should be doing more of. And I think that we should expand the activities, and I would encourage you going forward through any means possible to review what additional activities can be provided to the citizens of Wayne County. And I think that maybe we should try to review it and perhaps expand the role rather than diminish the role.
And if I may respond, go ahead. Well, what I wanted to say, our budgets are based on funding we already know that's coming. We don't control the monies that are granted to us at the federal level. So that being said, just understand that in itself is not within our control. And again, when you're looking at numbers, there's equipment that's spoken for that have not been paid for or have not been received. So that can be a large number. I think maybe you're welcome to visit our department. You're welcome to look at our books to understand. I can't sit here in 5 minutes and tell you why this is the way it is, but I can give you the general information as to why this happens on paper. So that being said, you're more than welcome. And if this was an indicator of the way we're going, you would be right, but it's not an indicator of the way we're going. These numbers are based on the granted funds. We are probably 95% funded through grants, okay, not the general fund. So therefore, we thrive and push and write to get the most money possible. But the bottom line, that decision is made at the federal level. And you need to understand that, Mr. Abel. You're welcome to visit anytime. And my thing is, I'd love to get a budget of 20 million. And trust me, I can use every dollar. I can make sure every police officer is better equipped. Every fighter is better equipped. I would love that. But please don't base our viability based on numbers that we have no control of that come from the federal level.
If I could chime in.
To that point, Madam the Chair.
Not yet.
Okay.
Committee members first, and then I'll get back with you. Okay. It would be helpful maybe if we knew we had a list of things that you have in the hopper, already ordered, already spoken for and paid for, or not. Mark is trying to give you more money. So that would be helpful to us to understand where you're at, as opposed to some things are paid for, some things are not paid for. If we knew that, that would probably be a little bit easier to grasp.
So I can appreciate that, Commissioner, but for the people listening and in the audience, I just want to make sure they understand, and because sometimes things can be taken in a different way.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to, go ahead, Nate, you were going to say something.
If I may, Madam Chair, too, just to kind of address to the piggyback what my director was saying there, when we have a decrease in our federal funding, that obviously takes our numbers down, that we don't have that control over it. Just to give you a couple of examples, Stone Garden, which is a program set up by the federal government, which is the state of Michigan is the pass-through, and then the county is the fiduciary to put out to the police departments or law enforcement agencies to be able to bring protection along the border, because we are a bordering state to another country. We saw a decrease in the last 36 months of that funding that we've been receiving each of the 36 months. When we did question the reason for the decrease, it was because there has been a shifting of where those monies would be delivered to. And the majority of those monies now start going to our southern states because of the immigration situation that goes on down there. And so that fluctuates. We could see a uptrend where we start getting more money in a couple of years. It just all depends on how the federal government decides to disperse that monies. Another quick example for you would be our UASI, which is our Urban Area Securities Initiative. So we receive a bulk of funding for our department from UASI, things for salaries for some of our staff, equipment that we purchase. When the federal government decreases the amount of money that they send to the urban area security initiatives, then the state gets less money. The state gets a portion of that money. And then they utilize it for administrative purposes. And then they send the remainder of it down to us here in Southeast Michigan. Well, when they get less money, they still take what they need and then they disperse to us what's left. Not to say that it's not equitable, but we get less money. So you'll see those decreases. Our budget will fluctuate. It'll fluctuate over a 36-month period, up and down.
And if I may add, Commission.
I'm good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
The public should not take anything negative about the discussion that we're having. We have the best Homeland Security Department that anybody could ask for. So I don't want anybody to think that's not what we're saying. We're saying we have the best. We want to make you even better. And we want to know if we could give you more money and what would you do with it? So it's a positive. Please take it as a positive discussion. Our budget director would like to chime in before I call on anyone else.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for affording me 2 brief comments. There's been several questions and discussion about why there is a decrease year over year in the departmental budget. And I wouldn't want that conversation to be had without noting that, as a component of continuous improvement, we review the pricing for positions as we build every budget. And we discovered that there was an overstatement in budget for the positions in the department. And so if you look at the decrease, a goodly portion of it is from federal grant reductions. A portion is to correct the pricing for the 11 positions in the department. And when you back out the decrease in salaries and the associated fringes and pension, it really is a status quo budget. The second point I wanted to make is, we support and thank Director Jaffer and the Homeland Security Department for keeping us all safe in the worst times of need. And if there are unexpected needs throughout the fiscal year, I and my staff stand ready to discuss budget adjustments as warranted. So I just wanted to clarify that the numbers appear a bit worse because there was a correction, and that we stand ready to consider all needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kinlock, then Commissioner Martha G. Scott.
Okay.
And then Commissioner Hattis.
It's something like that, as far as an explanation, should be highlighted in the documents as they come to us. It should not have to require you coming up and explaining it. We should be able to look at the document and see exactly where the adjustment was made, to the point that would prevent us from necessarily asking those round of questions as it relates to where and why this decrease was made. So I'm saying, so in the future, please have that piece there. Also want to talk about this new bridge that's coming online, even along the lines that we're talking about the decrease in the budget. Because I would imagine there will be more need for oversight, more need for prevention, as well as some of the incidents that we're seeing recently that have, over the past month or two, we've seen, or it's been at least publicly reported, that there's been drug arrests at the borders. So it's not necessarily some of the same type of, well, yeah, a lot of the same type of concerns, but maybe not the human factor. Even then, they're human factor, because we also happen to be a place where we have a serious problem with human trafficking here as well. So I'm just saying, so we would anticipate seeing what areas you would, you believe that you will probably be needing to strengthen or grow as we continue to see the bridge and some of these other issues that are impacting our region, that they may not necessarily be impacting all of the Great Lakes states. But we absolutely know that we have a human trafficking issue. We absolutely know that there are still individuals who are trying to transport illegal drugs into our country. And there's a number of other things. Now, there's some other, like I said, some other things I'd like to talk to you all offline, but the budget piece, we should be able, not to be that hard, but we should absolutely be able to look at it and say, oh, this is where it's coming from. Yep. So we wouldn't have to go in that line of questioning. Thank you.
I'll be calling you to talk to you offline too. I truly believe that we should not be waiting for federal grants to come in to purchase additional equipment for our communities to be able to speak to each other. I believe that Budget Director, please take a note. I believe that we have a little bit of cushion to help out with the equipment. So all communities could speak at the same language level to each other, with each other, to Wayne County. So that way, nothing is lost out of the discussion that we're having today, and making sure that everybody is on the same level at the same time. And we don't have to choose which ones we should put priority over the others. So I would encourage for you to give us a budget on that, how much that might take. And I'd like to then have ask Mark to get with you about how much that may make a difference in your budget, and perhaps we could find it at the county.
Thank you, Commissioner. I know there's a $358,000 need to get that system, the tunnel system. Of course, we call it an international system because Windsor uses it as well. We've done some research. We've applied and pushed a grant through the Port Authority. It was a national competitive grant. We missed by a hair, but there's another grant that the federal government is looking to help us with on that. So I appreciate you, and we will definitely send that information, but hopefully we get those funds so we don't have to use the general fund on that. I appreciate it.
If we have it in the budget and you get the grant, so be it. You can always give it back. So.
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate you.
Commissioner Martha G. Scott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to apologize to you all. I wasn't talking about you for the lead, but when he brought that up, that's been something that has plagued me for some time to do, and I just had to speak on it. It was for the director, for my chair of this committee, to let him know that this is what we need to be working on. Had nothing to do with your budget at all today.
But you know
okay?
what? We appreciate you, but it does affect us too. We're both Wayne County residents. We want to make sure we have the best water system. But of course, the department, there's also the DPS department who's more involved. We have engineers who deal with that. So we can speak offline onto that as well. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
The health department is
Madam
coming
Chair.
with their budget, so we'll have plenty of time to talk about the lead testing.
Okay, thank you.
For housekeeping purposes, Mark, do you have anything on the budget to talk about to finalize this? And then I'll call on Commissioner Hattis.
I think we're good, Madam Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have to make sure that
Yes,
I do
I
it properly.
agree with
Commissioner
Commissioner-
Hattis,
Thank
go
you.
ahead.
I agree with Commissioner Scott. I want to just make a couple points clear. I was involved in when the federal government decided to have a certain formula for homeland security funding. And I felt the way they funded the homeland security, it shortchanged county like Wayne County. They give the money to the state. The state charge 10 or 20%, I'm not sure, one of either number, for administration fee. Then they give the lion's share, the big share, to the state police. Whatever left, then they give us. That's why you see our budget for Homeland Security look like too small for county like Wayne County. So I appreciate what the Homeland Security in Wayne County do. They do the best they can with what they have. So, but that, to me, we need to discuss the thing based on the importance and the direct effect to the citizen right away. And I felt I really didn't see any problem addressing issue, but we have a problem how the budget works sometimes, not on the same level as the importance of those issues. So I have no complaint, like Commissioner Scott said. The department doing a good job with what they have at the available time. But it's our job now to provide them with more, to probably see them doing more effective thing with the connection with other departments. It's not only the Homeland Security issue, the lead and the flooding. It's a combined issue. It requires different departments to work with. It requires all of us to work together to dedicate some of the funding through the budget to find a way to fund some of the issue and start the solution. Doesn't matter how large or small, if we could do a little bit every year, in a few years, then we could eliminate some of those problems. So I want to thank you for what you're doing, and I hope we provide you with more funding to tackle with more of those issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this great discussion. And we think you're doing a wonderful job, and keep it up. And I would like to then close this part of the budget discussion, and we'll be in touch soon and see if there's some more things we could do together.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda.
Item F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
Terrence or Mark, do you want to set the table for the next meeting?
I'm going to defer to Terrence on that.
We are having lunch. Okay, thank you very much. Next item.
Item G, public comments.
Anyone from the public wishing to comment, you may speak for 2 minutes. Anyone from Zoom or phone or in person, please state your name and you may begin to speak. Anyone from the public wishing to comment, you may do so now. Anyone in the audience? Anyone on Zoom? Anyone on phone? Any emails? Madam Clerk, did we get any emails?
No emails were received.
Thank you. Next item.
Item H, adjournment.
Well moved.
Been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.